really none of your business. It's none of my business.
Hello, Fáilte, bonsoir, and welcome to the Motivated Classroom August Spotlight. Today is day 21, and this is the wonderful episode with Marianne the Best, episode 64. Now, Marianne is a primary school teacher working with young kids, and that was a big reason I wanted her on. I had seen her in action at the Dynamic Language Learning Conference, and I just really wanted her to share some of the techniques because I feel like we can learn so much from our primary and elementary school colleagues and the way that they teach language and the way that they teach content. And I just thought that she had such wonderful ideas. So one of the first things she said that I really liked, I've got my notes right here. She said, I noticed that engagement just went through the roof when I started using these techniques. She said, that she loves drama, and she brought some of that in with some puppets and stuff, which was cool. She said, after a while, I started to notice that they can say real things in Dutch to me now. Like, they'd stop me in the corridor and say, oh, I've got a new coat, or my mum's got a present for me. And coming from a situation where they couldn't really use Dutch at all, it was so rewarding to just keep me going. So there is that input output, balance, that by giving lots of interesting inputs, her students wanted to output. She then had a really nice piece speaking about how we maintain our energy when we're teaching with CI and stories and co-creation. It's one of the big questions I get. How do you do this every day? And I thought she gave a really nice kind of synopsis of the fact that she teaches and gives inputs in short spurts. And then there's a brain break or a game or silent reading or some kind of processing activity. And I think that's really important. And in tomorrow's episode, you're going to hear much more about that from the wonderful La Maestra Loca, who is the queen of brain breaks. And then she said one of the brain breaks she uses that she loves the most, because these are young children she teaches, is the floor is lava. But of course, she does it all in the target language and does it all really slowly. So she's kind of TPRing when she's doing it, you're not allowed to sit down here, and you mustn't run under the tables. And it's important that you stand on your chair or you stand on the table because the floor is really hot. And of course, because they know the game already, they're linking that meaning much quicker with all of those Dutch words. So she gets loads of inputs from it, and then she plays the whole game in Dutch. They think they're having a break, but really they're just getting more inputs. And then we spoke about gestures, and she was saying that she really likes them, and she says that she uses them for key structures. And she was saying that the students just kind of absorb the gestures. They kind of come out when you're teaching. I really noticed that they have a big impact on their acquisition, because sometimes when they're not able to speak so much yet in Dutch, they make the gesture, and that tells me they're almost ready to say things because it's sort of internalized. And again, it's just communication. They're learning to communicate just like babies do with their first language, by pointing, by making noises or sounds until they're ready to make those proper words. And then, of course, we spoke about classroom management and behavior, and just how important that is to get right in a class where we invite students to be very active. And she was saying that, for example, if they, you're very clear with your expectations, but if it drops and a few of them drop these expectations, and they all walk in chatting in English or something, she'll kind of pretend she's really angry and cross. Of course she's not. And then she's being a bit of an actor, and she says, oh, I pretend I'm so disappointed that you came in like this. And then we all have to walk back out and walk in silently and do it again. And then she'll be really happy and be like, wonderful, you did it so well. And making sure you reinforce these little expectations and routines is absolutely critical to making sure that your class is a good space for lots of input to happen and for them to output spontaneously when they're ready to. And then I loved her last piece about perseverance. So she mentioned this is, again, these are young children she works with. Said it really creates a Dutch community together. Things like this: when they enter the room, I ask them to switch their brains into Dutch mode. And sometimes when they forget, I ask them to leave and enter again, having their brains switched on in Dutch. Sometimes I pretend I don't understand any English, and I'll just stand by the wall and bang the wall. And then they really have to use Dutch, to communicate with me. It requires a different way of thinking, because sometimes these are young children. They want to tell me big, elaborate stories about their pets and families, and it really makes them think, okay, what words do you know? Try and communicate this as simple as possible with me. And sometimes I let them whisper in my ear in English, and I'll just say it for Dutch. I'll say it in Dutch for them, so there's no English spillover into the classroom. I try to limit that, and I also really celebrate when students are persevering in Dutch and they're just having a go. Maybe using English words here and there, it doesn't matter, but just having a go at the Dutch that they've heard. And then I have a special clap I use if they speak in Dutch, and they all love to get a special clap. It really adds to the positive atmosphere. So again, I think as secondary colleagues and middle school teachers, we have a lot to learn from primary school. There's so much we can take from that. So dankjewel, Marianne. Thank you so much for a wonderful episode. Please go listen to her full episode 64 with Marianne the Best. And I will see you tomorrow when we speak about La Maestra Loca. Adios.